Hello, Internet. Welcome again to Quiz and Hers, the trivia podcast where we test each other's knowledge and the strength of our relationship in a 10-week battle for glory. My name is Justin, and I'm here as always with my co-host and fiancée, Hallie.
Hello.
Hello. So, if you are new to the podcast, what are you laughing about?
That you looked confused when I said hello.
No.
Okay.
I was waiting for you to say something.
No, I don't know what else to say besides hello.
Okay.
There are only so many variations of saying hi to people.
Yeah. So, if you are listening to the podcast for the first time today, here's how it works. Each week, one of us writes 6 questions to ask the other person from 6 different categories, which are times and places, arts and literature, sounds and screen, sports and games, science, and everything else. All 6 questions are united by some central theme, and after each question, the person who wrote it will have a discussion prepared of about 5 minutes to teach everyone a little bit more about each topic. So hopefully we will all walk away knowing something we didn't know before.
Yep.
Whoever has the most correct answers at the end of the season will be declared the Quiz and Her Season 3 champion and the first ever 2-time champion.
Right.
And the current score right now is Hallie has 2 points and I have 1. So we both stumbled out of the gate to start this season. So we'll see what happens. Hallie has a chance to build her lead today.
Yep.
All right. Ready to play?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I call today's game Justin Moons Hallie.
Excuse
and
me?
Here we go.
No. Actually, it's irrelevant. No one can see you.
True.
For all they know. You just did.
For all they know, we just record this naked.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We don't, but we could.
It's a little cold right now.
That's true.
Yes, so all 6 questions today will have to do with the moon, the only naturally occurring true satellite of the Earth.
Cool.
Yep. All right, here we go. Question 1, science. The most widely accepted theory of the moon's origin is that the early Earth collided with a smaller protoplanet with the resulting debris forming the moon. What is the name of this theoretical body, which it shares with the mother of the Greek goddess Selene?
Luna.
Is that your answer?
Sure.
No, it's Thea.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. So this idea is referred to as the giant impact hypothesis, the big splash, or simply the Thea impact. Before I get to the science, I want to say a little bit about the mythology. So Thea was a titaness.
A what?
A titaness?
Oh, like a titaness?
A female titan, yes.
Okay.
She was the wife and sister of the titan Hyperion. Yeah, it's Greek mythology. There's a lot of that.
I don't know much about that.
There's an awful lot of guys marrying their sisters in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Anyway, Thea and Hyperion are the parents of Helios, the god and personification of the sun, Eos, the dawn, and most relevant to this discussion, Selene, the moon. So that's why the planet Thea was named for the titaness, because it quote-unquote gave birth to the moon like she did.
Cool.
Yep. Okay, so the earliest formulation of the giant impact hypothesis was formulated in 1946 by Reginald Aldworth Daly in response to the then dominant view that the still molten moon spun out of the early Earth due to centrifugal forces. Incidentally, that idea was formulated by Charles Darwin's son George Darwin.
Smart guys.
Yep. Anyway, Daly's hypothesis received little attention until 1974, when new models suggested that several bodies the size of small planets would have formed in the early solar system, then collided with or been captured by larger bodies. Even as the giant impact hypothesis slowly gained traction, the name Thea wasn't introduced until 2000, when Alex N. Halliday proposed it.
Wait, was that the theory for the formation of all the moons in our solar system, or just our moon?
Just ours.
So that's not saying that all other moons formed that?
No, most of them probably didn't, actually. So a lot of the minor satellites of, like, the gas giant planets are captured asteroids, and a lot of the larger moons of those larger planets just formed from, like, the protoplanetary material around that was captured into the orbit and coalesced around those planets.
So what do they think happened to the other stuff? Like the moon broke off of something that collided with the Earth? That's the point?
No, the moon didn't break off from anything. It was its own protoplanet called Theia that crashed into the Earth. Yeah, I'm about to talk about how it happened.
Okay, go on.
So the collision is thought to have occurred about 4.5 billion years ago, or only about 20 to 100 million years after the formation of the solar system. As the gas and dust in the early solar system was coalescing into planets, moons, asteroids, and such, a protoplanet about the size of Mars formed in a stable orbit almost exactly aligned with that of the early Earth in what's called a Lagrangian point. Lagrangian points are 5 locations in which a smaller body can be held in a stable orbit by the gravitational forces of 2 larger bodies. They're named for Joseph Louis Lagrange, an Enlightenment-era astronomer and mathematician from Italy.
So wait, it means that the moon's being held in orbit because of the gravitational orbits of the Earth and the Sun.
That's right.
Okay.
So this Mars-sized protoplanet, Theia, formed in one of these Lagrangian points and orbited the Sun at basically the same distance as the early Earth. So it was at like a different angle than the Earth, but it was the same distance from the Sun. Right?
Okay.
But it was perturbed out of its orbit by Venus, which set it on a spiraling collision course with Earth. It was thought for a while that the collision was a glancing blow, though more recently it has become widely accepted that it was actually a full-blown head-on collision that ejected rocks and dust from the surfaces and mantles of both bodies into space and fused their molten cores. The ejected material then coalesced to form the moon.
So it did break off of something.
No, it collided with us, with the Earth.
So the moon collided with the Earth.
Theia collided with the Earth.
Sorry, Theia collided with the Earth.
Yeah.
Fused with the Earth.
The cores fused, and a bunch of the surface and mantle material was thrown into space.
And that's the moon.
That's what coalesced to become the moon, yeah.
And so part of Theia is still somewhere on Earth.
In Earth, but yes.
Inside.
Yeah.
So it didn't affect, like, it didn't put, like, a dent in the Earth or anything like that?
No, because the gravitational forces will eventually collapse everything back down into a spherical shape.
I was going to say that's why the moon became a sphere after that.
Yeah, that's right. Gravity collapses stuff down to spherical shapes, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So why has this hypothesis become so widely accepted? Well, there are a few reasons. Our best mathematical models of gravitational interactions in the early solar system predict numerous giant impacts around this time as different bodies formed and slammed into each other. Moreover, Earth has a rather large molten core for a body of its size, and the Moon has a relatively small solid iron core. If they had formed independently, we would expect their cores to be sized similarly to other celestial objects, right? But if Theia crashed into Earth and their cores fused, and the Moon formed from the surface material that was blasted into space, this would explain why the Earth's core is too big and the Moon's is too small, quote-unquote.
Shouldn't the moon not have a core at all if this is how it happened?
Well, the whole core didn't fuse. Some of it is still there, but not a lot.
Gotcha.
Not as much as you would expect if the Moon just formed by itself.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, rocks on the Moon and the Earth have identical amounts of isotopes of various elements, which suggests a common origin. So that's where the Moon comes from. Now let's get to some more lunar trivia.
Okay.
All right. Question 2, sounds and screen. What actor plays the lead role in the film Moon, alongside a robot voiced by Kevin Spacey? Depending on how you count, he plays 1, 2, or 3 roles in the film.
I've never even heard of this movie.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
I definitely have not.
Yes, you have.
I have not.
Yes, you have, because I watched it and I told you it was great and I told you you should watch it.
Is it new?
No.
Is it old?
2009, I think.
Oh, that's new enough. A robot voiced by Kevin Spacey?
Is like the only other major character.
Well, you could have told me like something else he was in or something. You give me no indication. There's only one way to figure this answer out, and it's having seen this movie that I haven't
Or
seen.
knowing anything about it, which you should, because I've told you about it.
I do not.
Well, I've told you about it, so.
I don't know.
You want to take a guess?
Sure. Benedict Cumberbatch.
No.
I know.
Sam Rockwell.
Oh. I've heard of him.
Yep. Sam Rockwell is just so damn good. He's one of those actors that has been in so many things that you don't even realize how much you've seen him in. At time of recording, he has 102 acting credits listed on IMDb.
Wow.
And I could have written this discussion as just a bulleted list of his work, just to get across how ubiquitous and underappreciated he is. But I'm not going to do that. I'll talk a bit about his early life, then I'll gush about all the stuff he's been amazing in.
Okay.
Alright. So Sam Rockwell was born in San Mateo County, California in 1968. Yeah, he's 50 years old, which is pretty unbelievable. Anyway, his parents Pete Rockwell and Penny Hess were actors themselves and encouraged his interest in performing. He attended the Ruth Asawa San Francisco School of the Arts with fellow stars Margaret Cho and Aisha Tyler, but he dropped out before graduating. He did eventually earn his high school diploma in an outdoor education school, whatever that means.
Yeah, what the heck is that?
I
You
don't
sit
know.
in the woods and learn?
I guess, I don't know.
That sounds okay.
Whatever it was, his interest in acting was rekindled while he was there, and after graduating, he landed his first role in a 1989 horror film called Clown House, which was shot in San Francisco. After this, he relocated to New York, where he took more acting lessons and began his career in earnest. After Clown House, he played small parts in a lot of TV shows and films, including the 1990 live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. At the time, he was only acting part-time. He was also working in restaurants, delivering food, and he even worked as a private investigator's assistant. It was, in Sam's own words, quote, pretty sleazy.
That's funny.
Yeah. It was a Miller beer commercial, of all things, that was lucrative enough to allow him to start acting full-time. Like I said, Rockwell has been in approximately every movie made in the past 30 years.
Oh, okay.
I'll talk about some of the most important ones, including career milestones for him, and just the most well-known of his films in general.
Mm-hmm.
A major turning point for his career was the 1996 independent film Box of Moonlight, which I have never heard of.
You know, you could... Okay, sorry.
What?
You could have said, like, Oscar-winning actor or something.
I'm getting to that.
I'm just suggesting something you could have added to that question to make it slightly less difficult.
You should see Moon, it's great.
Well, you know I haven't.
Anyway, a major turning point for his career was the 1996 independent film Box of Moonlight, which I have never heard of, but which apparently put him on the radars of casting directors. In 1999, Rockwell played William Wild Bill Wharton, a prisoner in The Green Mile. He played a small-time actor in the excellent Star Trek spoof Galaxy Quest, and he also appeared in an adaptation of the Shakespearean comedy A Midsummer Night's Dream. All of that was 1999.
I haven't seen any of these.
You've never seen Galaxy Quest?
No, what's Galaxy Quest?
Oh my god.
This is not going well. I'll add it to the list. To my long list of movies I need to see.
In 2002, he starred in George Clooney's directorial debut Confessions of a Dangerous Mind as Chuck Barris, the host of The Gong Show and a self-described CIA assassin.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a weird one. And in 2003, he starred opposite Nicolas Cage in Ridley Scott's black comedy film Matchstick Men.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Never saw it.
It's good. He portrayed Zaphod Beeblebrox in 2005's adaptation of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And in 2009, he starred in Duncan Jones's Moon, which I mentioned in the question.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen Moon, you should, and I'm talking to the listeners as well as you. It is a terrific sci-fi movie.
Okay.
After being considered for the lead role in 2008's Iron Man, side note, can you even imagine how different the Marvel Cinematic Universe would have been if that had happened? Anyway, he appeared in 2010's Iron Man 2 as rival weapons developer Justin Hammer, and he is arguably the only good part of that movie. He is so freaking good at that, though.
So maybe that's the only thing I've ever seen him in.
Really? But he's in
so far
literally everything.
So far, I've only seen Iron Man 2 in these movies.
Boy, okay.
I know.
He reteamed with Iron Man 2 director Jon Favreau in a supporting role in 2001's Cowboys and Aliens, and also played a supporting part in 2013's coming-of-age comedy drama The Way, Way Back.
Oh, I saw that. That was a good movie.
Yeah.
Did you?
No.
Oh, wow. There's a movie I've seen that you haven't.
I've heard it's good. Yeah. Critics called for him to be nominated for Oscars for Moon and The Way, Way Back, but the Academy snubbed him both times. Fuck you, the Academy.
All right.
He finally got his first Oscar nomination and his first win for Best Supporting Actor for 2017's 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Most recently, he portrayed President George W. Bush opposite Christian Bale's Dick Cheney in Vice.
I want to see 3 Billboards. I heard it was great.
Yeah, I would watch that. I'd see Vice, too. That looks pretty good. Great cast.
Yeah, it's in theaters.
Mm-hmm. Well, it won't be probably by the time this comes out, but...
Okay, it was recently in theaters.
Yeah.
I heard it was boring, but...
I don't know. Well, probably.
It depends on what kind of movies you're into, I guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like my idea of a thrilling movie, but... You never know. I like them.
Yeah, it's a great cast. So, Batman and Justin Hammer.
Oh yeah, wrong universe though.
Yeah. All right, ready for question 3?
Yep.
All right, times and places. Also known as the Moonlight Battle, the Battle of Cape St. Vincent was a 1780 naval engagement off the coast of Portugal, fought between what 2 European powers?
I don't know.
Well, you can figure it out.
What year?
1780. Fought off the coast of Portugal.
Yeah, but I'm thinking probably Portugal isn't one of them.
Okay.
Or else. That seems too easy. I don't know. France and Spain.
Very close. Spain and Great Britain.
Damn it!
I included Portugal in the question because it's geographically between Spain and Great Britain. So you could have done worse than guessing those 2 countries that it's right in between.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Okay. So this battle was part of the Anglo-Spanish War of 1779 to 1783, which was a conflict that was connected to the American Revolutionary War. Essentially, France was allied with the American colonies, and Spain was allied with France. So they declared war on Great Britain in 1779.
That was close.
Yeah. Spain and Britain also had a long history of feuding with one another, alliances aside. There had been 6 previous Anglo-Spanish wars.
I've never heard of any.
Yeah, so Spain's involvement in this more global conflict of the American Revolution is not much talked about, which is kind of why I wanted to write about it here.
Okay.
Before the declaration of war, Spain had been covertly aiding the American colonies, smuggling in gunpowder and precious metals, among other things, to support the war effort. Spain did not openly ally with the colonies at first, because they were wrapping up another war with Portugal at the time. Yeah, everyone was constantly at war with everyone else back then.
Yeah.
And so they needed time to prepare, which is why the Anglo-Spanish War didn't kick off until April 1779. When they finally declared war, their principal objective was reclaiming Gibraltar, which they had lost in the War of Spanish Succession because of its strategically important location, which we've talked about before.
Yep.
Retaking Minorca, which they had lost in the same conflict, was a close second in importance, and they also just wanted to generally fuck up Britain's position on the world stage. The most important and famous battle of the conflict was the Great Siege of Gibraltar, which is exactly what it sounds like. But there was also a joint Franco-Spanish invasion of Minorca, as well as action in the West Indies and the Mississippi Valley. Spain also helped to finance the siege of Yorktown, which was, of course, the decisive battle of the American Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, it's a bit odd that France and Spain would help out the rebellious American colonies. They were both imperialist monarchies who had good reason to fear a powerful American republic.
Yeah.
In fact, America did later inspire the Latin American Wars of Independence, in which Spanish New World colonies revolted. But at the time, Spain and France felt that it was more important to weaken their British rivals than it was to shut down the rebirth of government by the people.
Mm-hmm.
In the short term, at least, Spain came out pretty well from this war. Getting involved in the war was a risk, especially after they had just finished up with Portugal. They were banking on Great Britain being too preoccupied with the colonies to mount a proper defense, and they were right. They didn't manage to retake Gibraltar, but they did win back Minorca and weakened Britain's presence in the Caribbean, which Spain controlled most of at this point.
Where's Minorca?
Minorca? It's like off the coast of Spain.
Oh, okay.
By Mallorca.
Okay.
The bigger one and the littler one. That's like literally what the names are. It's
Okay.
like big and little. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Unlike France, which had accrued huge unpayable debts to finance their part of the war for relatively little tangible gain, Spain had accomplished a lot of what they set out to do and repaid their debts fairly easily because of the large amounts of silver that they mined in their New World colonies. Right, so, the Battle of Cape St. Vincent, aka the Moonlight Battle. There isn't really much to say about it, except that it was a decisive victory in a war for Britain in a war that Britain ultimately lost. It got its unusual nickname because it was fought at night by moonlight, which was extremely rare for naval battles at the time.
Sounds difficult.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it was like a full moon that night, so it was pretty well lit, but still, this was like very uncommon.
Right.
Yeah. Most of the daylight hours were wasted as the British ships chased down the Spanish fleets, and the battle itself didn't start until around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There were discussions among the Brits about whether or not to continue the pursuit into the night, But they ultimately decided to, and the battle continued until about 2 o'clock in the morning, with the British capturing 6 ships, which was a huge prize at the time.
Mm-hmm. Battles are such a weird concept now, thinking about it.
How do you mean?
Just like the way wars have changed with technology and bombs.
Yeah, there's not very much direct combat like the way that there used to be. I mean, there's still a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird to think about.
Yep. All right, so we're at the halfway mark, and you are 0 for 3.
I'm aware.
Okay, well, you should get at least a couple of these next ones.
I hope so.
All right, question 4. Everything else. Texistecatl and Coyolxauhqui.
You're killing me.
I practiced this too.
You're killing me.
Texistecatl and Coyolxauhqui are deities associated with the moon in different versions of the creation myth of what ancient culture?
Can I see these words? I don't know what you just said. You're killing me, man.
You can figure this out just by how the words sound. That's the whole point of the question. There, that's how it's spelled.
Oh, it's Aztec.
Is that your answer?
Yes.
Yes, it's the Aztecs.
I'm sorry, but reading those helped a lot. I literally thought you were speaking Chinese.
Texistecatl sounds Chinese to you?
Okay, that one less so, but the second one I really thought you were speaking.
Coyolxauhqui.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one sounds more Chinese.
Yeah, that confused me. But anyway, reading them helped. Thank you.
Yes, so it's the Aztecs.
Yay.
So the Aztecs settled and founded their capital, Tenochtitlan, on an artificial island in Lake Texcoco. Oh boy, this is going to be...
Let me know if you need help. I can do some of these words pretty decently.
This is going to be ugly. That site is now the center of Mexico City. Anyway, their legends say that when they arrived, the other tribes in the area considered them uncivilized, and the Aztecs decided to learn from their more cultured neighbors, especially the Toltecs. Since they drew their culture from several different groups, they had a few different creation myths, but the main one is referred to as the 5 suns. According to this myth, the current age was preceded by 4 previous ages. As you might gather, the sun figures prominently in Aztec creation myths, and each of the 5 ages that has existed has been presided over by its own sun. Before any of that, though, there was nothing. Out of the void, the first god, Omoteotl, created itself. Omoteotl was the god of duality, and was both male and female, good and evil, fire and water, and so on. Omoteotl gave birth to 4 children, who were the most principal gods of the Aztec pantheon. Quetzalcoatl, the god of light, wind, and mercy, ruled the west. Huitzilopochtli, the god of war, ruled the south. Xipe Totec, the god of gold, farming, and the spring, ruled the east. And Tezcatlipoca, the god of judgment, night, deceit, sorcery, and the earth, ruled the north. These 4 gods created all the other gods, people, and the world. The world needed a light and warmth, so a god had to become the sun. Tezcatlipoca was chosen, but he only became half a sun, either because he was missing a leg, or because he was a night god, depending on the version you're talking about.
Okay.
A sibling rivalry developed between the sun/Tezcatlipoca and Quetzalcoatl, who knocked his brother out of the sky with a stone club, plunging the world into darkness.
Mm-hmm.
In his anger, Tezcatlipoca commanded his jaguars to eat all of the people, ending the first age.
So everyone died?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Quetzalcoatl became the new sun after the gods had created new people. Over time, the people became less civilized and stopped honoring the gods, so Tezcatlipoca turned them into monkeys, and Quetzalcoatl blew them off of the earth with a hurricane. He gave up his role as the sun to create a new people. Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility, became the 3rd sun, but when Tezcatlipoca seduced his wife... Oh boy, here we go. Xochiquetzal, I guess.
Sure.
Starts with an X. He became mired in grief and would not fulfill his duty.
Don't you think the X is pronounced like a H, like Mexico?
No, isn't it pronounced like a Z?
Well, it's not Mexico.
No, but this is not Spanish.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. No one ever tells you these things.
No, this is not Spanish. This is ancient Aztec. The language was called
Naval,
I think.
This must be why they don't really focus much on this in world history, because they can't pronounce it.
Because none of the teachers can pronounce any of it. Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
Yeah, so anyway, Tlaloc was the third son, and Tezcatlipoca seduced his wife, so he became mired in grief and will not fulfill his duty, plunging the world into a drought. The people prayed to the sun for rain, and he eventually became so annoyed by their pleas that he rained fire down on the earth until it burned away, forcing the gods to create a new world from the ashes.
Jeez.
Yeah. Tlaloc's new wife, Chalchui... Oh, God.
Just give up.
Chalchiutlaq or something.
That totally sounds Chinese.
Chalchiutlaq
I don't know.
became the fourth son and was kind to the people, but Tezcatlipoca accused her of only showing the people kindness out of a selfish desire for their praise. She was so upset by this that she cried blood for 52 years, flooding the world and drowning everyone. The humans turned into fish to survive.
And that's where fish came from.
Yes.
I see.
In Aztec mythology, yes. So here's where things start to get confusing and contradictory. Some versions of the myth say that the fifth and current son is Huitzilopochtli, who is at war with the stars and their leader Coyolxauhqui, the goddess of the moon. They come close to victory every night, but Huitzilopochtli beats them back each morning. To aid the god in his unending war, the Aztecs nourished him with human sacrifices. If they ceased sacrificing to the sun, he would lose his war, the world would go dark, and a great earthquake would end this fifth civilization. Another version says that the gods gathered to decide who should become the fifth son. Texistecatl was a proud, important god who insisted on the honor, but when the time came to throw himself on a bonfire to burn up and become the sun, he hesitated, and a minor, older god, Nanahuatzin, jumped into the fire, becoming the sun. Texistecatl was inspired and followed, becoming a second son, which became the moon, bringing us back to the topic of the day. Realistically, only Huitzilopochtli and Quetzalcoatl ever really come up in trivia, but I think the stuff is interesting anyway. So
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And hard to pronounce.
Yeah, Quetzalcoatl and Huitzilopochtli are the ones that you should practice pronouncing before you go on a game show, just in case.
Okay.
All right. Question 5. Arts and literature. What French sci-fi pioneer wrote 1865's From the Earth to the Moon, a fictional account of man's first voyage to the moon, which accurately predicted that the first manned vessel to reach the moon would be launched from Florida?
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
French sci-fi author?
French sci-fi pioneer, 1865. And you know this.
Is it Isaac Asimov? Was he French? It sounds French enough. I'm going with it. I don't know.
No, it's not Isaac Asimov.
Was he French?
No.
What was he?
He was American, I think.
Oh, who is it?
It's Jules Verne.
Oh, I didn't know he was French.
Yeah. Asimov was like 100 years later.
I don't know. You asked too many questions about sci-fi.
I've asked like one.
No.
Yeah. Steampunk. What was it? Or cyberpunk. What was the other one?
I don't know.
I think that was it. I can pull it up right now. I have the spreadsheet.
It's okay. It's fine.
Jules Gabriel Verne was born in Nantes, a town along the Loire River, on February 8, 1828. He was the first of what would end up being the 5 children of Pierre Verne and Sophie Allotte de la Fouille.
Sure.
Jesus Christ.
You did this to yourself.
Yeah, alright. His father was an attorney and expected Jules to take over his law practice. We'll get back to that. There is a long-standing legend that when he was 11, Verne got himself hired as a cabin boy on a ship en route to the West Indies, but his father stopped him and made him promise to travel only in his imagination. This may have been loosely inspired by a real event, but it didn't actually happen. Too bad. It's a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he did eventually go to law school in Paris and was present in the city for the Revolution of 1848. He graduated in January 1851, and his disagreements with his father about his career came to a head a year later when his father offered him a law practice in Nantes. Jules had already published several short stories by this time, and he refused his father's offer. He spent a great deal of his time in the Bibliothèque Nationale de France, the French National Library, reading about science and geography and researching for his stories. Kind of sounds like me reading about random irrelevant information for fun.
Yep.
It was around this time that he came up with the idea for a new type of novel, a roman de la science, or novel of science, into which he could incorporate all of the information he was learning at the bibliothèque.
So he invented sci-fi?
More or less.
Wow.
He and H.G. Wells were like the two early pioneers.
That's who I was thinking of first,
was
and then I
English.
was like, he was not
Yeah,
French.
he was English, yeah.
That's as far as I got.
Yeah. So Verne found a steady publisher who was enthusiastic about his factually informed novels in Pierre-Jules Hetzel, who was planning to launch a bi-weekly family magazine called the Magazine of Education and Recreation that would use fiction to educate readers. Verne's carefully researched adventure stories were perfect for the mission of the magazine. Hetzel published Verne's first novel, 5 Weeks in a Balloon, in book form, and most of the rest of his novels would be serialized in the magazine, beginning with the adventures of Captain Hatteras. Hetzel collectively referred to Verne's works as a novel sequence called The Extraordinary Voyages, which would, quote, outline all the geographical, geological, physical, and astronomical knowledge amassed by modern science, and recount in an interesting and picturesque format that is his own, the history of the universe, end quote.
Seems like a lofty goal.
Well, yes. Verne, I didn't write this down, but I read this, that Verne himself said something like, yes, that's what I'm trying to do, but it's, there's so much information out there that you'd have to live to be 100 in order to do it, basically. Right. Yeah. But yeah, he did embrace this statement of his mission, and works including Journey to the Center of the Earth, From the Earth to the Moon, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Around the World in 80 Days all exemplify it. Verne continued writing until his death in 1905. His last published work was a novel called Paris in the 20th Century, which was thought lost until Verne's great-grandson discovered a copy of the manuscript. So it was published much later, way after his death.
Okay.
Why did I not write the year down? I thought I did.
I don't know.
Damn, I should have looked over that. Oh well. Verne's literary legacy is a curious one. He was initially embraced by both writers and scientists in France, but as his popularity boomed among the masses, he came to be seen as unworthy of serious academic consideration. His reputation recovered somewhat after his death, with prominent avant-garde and surrealist writers openly citing him as an inspiration. By the 1970s, he was recognized as one of the great French literary figures, and he is still considered an essential part of the French canon in Europe. His reputation in English-speaking countries has been even slower to recover, as most of the early English translations of his works were clunky and ill-written, and publishers in Britain and the US tended to market his works toward children, often in highly abridged forms.
Yeah.
So for a long time, Anglophone readers viewed him as nothing but a children's storyteller with no legitimate literary value. His image is improving, and Ray Bradbury perhaps best captured his enduring influence on both literature and science when he said that, quote, we are all, in one way or another, the children of Jules Verne.
That's cool.
Yeah.
When was Ray Bradbury alive?
He was writing during, the 50s, I think.
Okay, thanks.
Pretty sure.
Not good at this whole timeline thing.
Verne and Wells were the ones that were, way earlier. They were, 100 years before everybody else.
Okay.
And Wells was English, Verne is French. So whenever it's, a question about an early pioneer, it'll usually tag it with the nationality, and that's how you know which one it is.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Ready?
I guess.
Okay, question 6. You should be able to figure this one out.
A
lot of the ones in this game were more puzzles than anything, and this is another one that's kind of like that.
Okay.
All right, sports and games. Spoiler alert. In what critically acclaimed 2011 video game sequel can you earn an achievement called Lunacy by teleporting yourself to the surface of the moon during the final boss battle?
Oh, crap.
What?
I feel like this is a game that I started and didn't finish.
I'm not saying anything.
Is it Portal?
Is that your answer?
Yeah.
No, it's Portal 2. Pay attention to the question.
Justin, that was my answer.
You didn't say.
You're not going to give me credit because I didn't say Portal 2.
I asked you for the sequel. The original.
You said what critically acclaimed video game series?
Sequel.
Justin, it's Portal 2.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You didn't say that.
You're kidding me. You're not going to give me credit for that?
I shouldn't.
You should. That's bullshit.
I said sequel, and you didn't say the sequel.
I think you said series. You want to go back and check?
I can go back.
Read the question again.
Spoiler alert. In what critically acclaimed video game sequel can you earn an achievement called Lunacy by teleporting yourself to the surface of the moon during the final boss battle.
I swear you said series.
I said sequel.
Whatever, I know it's Portal 2, Justin. I played it. You're not going to give me credit for this?
Fine.
It's not like the game is like Portal 2, return to something something. It's literally just the number 2.
Yeah.
I know that.
But the first game is called Portal.
I know the first game is called Portal, and the second game is called Portal 2, because it's the second one. Jesus. You literally said it was the second one.
Uh-huh.
I know that the first one is called Portal, and the second one is called Portal 2.
Fine.
Like, that's bullshit if you don't give me credit for that.
I don't think it is, but fine, I'll give you credit. I don't think you would have gotten credit for that on Jeopardy or wherever, but fine.
Whatever. I'm giving myself credit.
I'll give you credit.
Thank you. I deserve it. I literally played it.
Some
What?
of it. Some of it.
Okay, most of it.
Yeah.
I never finished it.
No, you didn't. I figure 7 years out, you're probably never going back to it. So.
Probably not. Well, I don't have it.
You could.
I'm not buying it.
It's on Steam. It's cheap.
I guess.
So the Portal games are amazing. We all know that. If you haven't played them, go play them. I won't spoil anything more beyond the basic mechanics of the games here, and the question really didn't spoil that much. It's even a bit of a surprise who the final boss of Portal 2 is. So the first game in the Portal franchise, appropriately titled Portal, was originally released in 2007 by the Valve Corporation. In addition to Portal, Valve is known for other game franchises including Half-Life, Team Fortress, Counter-Strike, and Left 4 Dead, and for Steam, which is a digital game store and distribution platform.
They invented Steam.
Yeah, they created Steam and they own it.
That's cool.
Yeah. Get it? Valve, Steam.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. The history of the Portal series actually begins with a senior project by a group of game design students at the DigiPen Institute of Technology in Redmond, Washington. That game was called Narbacular Drop, and was set in a fantasy universe, but included the basic environmental puzzle-solving elements that are recognizable in the Portal series, including blue and orange portals that connect to each other. When employees at Valve discovered the game, they offered the entire development team jobs, which is pretty cool,
Yeah.
and development began on what would become Portal. Portal was originally viewed as a weird experimental game, and Valve weren't sure if it would be well received by their fans, who are accustomed to action-oriented first-person shooters. Since they weren't totally sold on the concept, they intentionally kept the game very short, about 5 hours for most players.
And that's why I finished it.
Yeah. Although it took you like 10, but...
Did that. Okay, that was like the first video game I ever played, probably. Seriously.
Yeah, probably. And they released it as part of a compilation of games called the Orange Box, which also included Half-Life 2 and its direct sequel Half-Life 2 Episode 1, both of which had already been previously released, as well as Half-Life 2 Episode 2 and Team Fortress 2, which were both new.
Did you play them?
I've played Half-Life 2. I haven't played the spin-offs.
Oh.
Portal was originally supposed to be a small bonus for players, but ended up being the breakout hit of the whole collection. Critics and fans particularly praised its innovative mechanics, voice acting, and black humor.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's great. Work began immediately on a sequel, and early ideas kept the puzzle-solving aspects but did away with portals entirely, but this was unpopular with test audiences, as well as with Valve president and frontman Gabe Newell. Portal 2 was eventually released in 2011 as a standalone game, and retained portals, but added new characters and mechanics like conversion gels that change the properties of surfaces onto which they are sprayed. Portal 2 received universal acclaim, and was hailed as one of the best games of the year. So, a bit about the games themselves. The player controls a woman named Chell, who is a test subject in the Aperture Science Enrichment Center. She is given the Aperture Science handheld portal device, usually referred to by fans as the portal gun, which can create blue and orange portals on flat surfaces. The portals basically work like wormholes. If you pass through one, you will instantly pop out of the other, and importantly, maintain your momentum. This allows for unique and complex ways to move through the environment, such as jumping off of high ledges into one portal and flying out of the other, which is placed on a wall.
That's my favorite.
So that your momentum throws you across the room and over an obstacle.
That's where I got stuck.
Where?
There was a really high ledge that I had to get onto, so I jumped off another ledge and I was supposed to fly onto the higher one, and for some reason my momentum couldn't quite get me there, and then I got frustrated and then stopped playing.
Well, if you can't make it, you just fire another portal where you're going to land, and you'll shoot out the next one with even more momentum.
I should try it again.
Because you conserve your momentum, so if you keep falling,
right,
you gain more speed.
Right.
So that's how you solve that.
I should try that again.
Yeah, you should. It's great.
Yeah.
Chell is guided through the Enrichment Center's test chambers by GLaDOS, the artificial intelligence that runs the center, voiced by Ellen McLean. Additional characters in the series have been voiced by J.K. Simmons, Stephen Merchant, and Nolan North. The series technically takes place in the same universe as the Half-Life games, but having played both, they are completely different experiences, and you don't have to play one to love the other.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Yep.
I love Portal.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And Portal 2.
They're amazing games. I kind of want to go back and play them again now.
Yeah, I want to play Portal 2 again.
Yeah, they're so good.
Because then I can do this moon thing.
Yeah, it's really funny, actually. The moment where you, like, figure out that, like, that's what you're supposed to do, you're just like, oh, okay. Like, there's a full moon, like, you're, like, knocked on your back, and there's a full moon, like, up above you through, like, a hole in the ceiling.
So you have to shoot a portal.
You have to shoot a portal onto the moon.
That's so cool.
It's really good.
That's very... Did you get the idea for Portal when we were watching Incredibles, too?
No.
Oh, because I mentioned it.
Yeah, there's that character in that has, like, portal abilities. No, I actually already had this question written by then.
Oh, okay.
This was one of the first couple questions I wrote for this game, actually. So
cool.
Yeah. All right, so that will do it. So you're now up 4-1 after the first couple of games.
Yep.
So I will try to make a comeback and even the score next week. But in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, we are Quiz and Hers at Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can subscribe and listen to the podcast on any podcasting platform known to man. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a review. It really does help grow the show. And if you have any friends that are into trivia, maybe tell them about the show and get them listening as well. It really does help to grow the show through word of mouth.
Yep.
So thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Spain also helped to finance the
The what?